Hey, welcome back. Today we have an interesting episode when we take a look at Chinga, episode 10 of season 5. Debuting February 8th, 1998, Chinga follows Scully as she leaves for a little vacation, but instead comes across a little girl and an evil doll. The episode begins with little Polly Turner sitting in the car as her mother Melissa tells her she needs to buy some groceries. The look she gives her mother though, like, alright, I guess no Dunkaroos for you. Melissa was gonna leave Polly in the car, but after that look, she figures it might be better if she came with. What the hell is this Karen's problem? She's just a little girl. It's not like her doll is evil and will cause undue harm to all those around her. Why does everyone look at these two like they're the second coming of the Antichrist?
Let's have fun!
Melissa.
Yeah, the butcher being stabbed in the eye is kind of weird, but the weirder thing is this doll isn't supposed to talk. For some reason, everyone goes full Event Horizon and just starts mutilating themselves. The butcher comes out and he's all, what the hell? He attempts to call the police, but a clearly much larger haunted doll forces him to jam a knife in his eye, which I guess we already saw in the freezer door. Unlike most episodes where Mulder and Scully are called onto the scene to investigate, Scully just happens to be on vacation where this incident occurred. I don't know much about Maine, but do they generally sell their gas by the liter?
Scully!
Hey, Scully, it's me.
Mulder, I thought we had an agreement. We were both going to take the weekend off.
Scully's gone away for what, maybe a few hours? And Mulder already has no idea what to do with himself. He tries rambling on about X-Files cases and decapitation, but she quickly puts a stop to that because she is supposed to be on vacation. Hey, now those two look familiar. So much for Scully's vacation, I guess. You know, even though all these people gouged their own faces, they all missed their eyeballs, so the wounds aren't really that bad. Well, unless you count the guy that decided to use a knife. The store manager walks up to Scully to tell her about the butcher, but how can he see anything with his eyes like that? While Scully's dealing with that, Mulder's watching something, adult sounding? I mean, the tape says alien probe, but what kind of probe?
What are you watching, Mulder?
It's the world's deadliest swarms.
The world's deadliest swarms my ass. That case says alien probe. Scully called up Mulder because what she just witnessed clearly wasn't normal. Oh, I guess he wasn't lying about the world's deadliest swarms after all. She goes on about witchcraft and what have you, but Mulder doesn't seem to think it's any of that, though I do think he might be slightly turned on.
Voodoo, Macumba, or any high or low magic.
Scully,
Yes?
marry me.
I was hoping for something a little more helpful.
I'm honestly surprised it took him so long to ask. Mulder tells Scully that he thinks she has it all figured out and lets her go. She then notices Melissa and Polly, who seem to be the only ones not harming themselves. Before Scully can resume her vacation, the police chief, Jack Bonsant, tells her people in town call Melissa a witch. It's kinda hard to argue with that assessment too, because everywhere she goes, trouble seems to follow.
Look, to be honest with you, Captain Bonzant, I'm not much of a believer in witchcraft.
What? Scully's a skeptic? Saying ain't so! Also, it's Chief Bonsant Scully, not Captain. As weird as this is, the chief does believe something fishy is going on. Melissa seemed to be having a little relationship with the butcher, and he seemed to get the worst of it. While that's going on, one of the officers on the scene, Buddy, decides to call Melissa, and I'm not sure her daughter approves. Buddy called her up because he just had to be the person to tell Melissa that her boyfriend was killed, and that she might need a friend. It feels like Buddy's been waiting for the butcher to kick the bucket so he can make his move.
I'm coming over there, Melissa. You shouldn't be alone.
By the looks of this shadow, I don't think she is. Oh hey, look at the dogs. Scully and the chief arrive at Melissa's house, but I'm just gonna call the chief Jack. Anyways, they look inside and no one appears to be home. They decide to go around back and check, but if this were Scully and Mulder, they would have just walked in the front door. Instead, they go through the back door, which is much different. Nailing your child's windows shut is perfectly normal behavior.
Don't know if the little girl, Polly, ever really understood. Toys in the attic.
The daughter's autistic?
Toys in the attic apparently means mentally unstable or crazy, which isn't exactly how I would describe someone with autism. Regardless, Melissa's husband was killed the year prior in a boating accident, and Jack's not sure if the young girl really understands what happened. There was also an incident where Polly was smacked by a daycare worker and then apparently knocked the worker out on her ass, which seems to be completely fabricated. But this seemed to be one of the things that led to Melissa being called a witch. Anyways, Buddy has taken Melissa and Polly out for a little ice cream, and he starts acting like he's gonna be Melissa's savior.
I've had my eye on you, Melissa, for more years than I care to remember. I missed my chance the first time round. I've been waiting in the wings. Now, I'm sorry about things. Truly, I am.
I don't really buy that he cares about what she's dealing with. He's probably just trying to get into her pants. Melissa tries explaining to Buddy about what's really going on, especially with the people that gouge their own faces, but she really needs to keep an eye on Polly.
I want more cherries now.
You're gonna have to go ask your mommy for some more money, hun. I just can't give them away.
Whatever happens to this lady kind of feels deserved. Oh, so that's why the ice cream machine is always broken. Scully and Jack arrive at the Karen's house, and I finally understand why she was giving Melissa and Polly the death stare. She was the daycare worker who got her ass whooped by a little girl.
And giving that slandered of a mother just what she's got coming.
New England hospitality. Heard about it my whole life. Only got a chance to fuck me.
Scully tells Jack that maybe he should bring Melissa in and ask her about her apparent family tree full of witches and what have you. I do enjoy that over the years Scully has become a little more open to the paranormal, but at the same time she still thinks there's a rational explanation for this whole thing. In the meantime, Jack is now on his own because Scully is supposed to be on her vacation.
Where are you headed this time of night?
We were invited up to a place near the lake. A friend gave us the key.
Yeah, and I think that friend wants to be a little more than friendly. The ranger questions Melissa about where she was going and why, but does it really matter? I don't think Polly or her haunted doll want to go anyways, and now creepy Karens are appearing in the back window. Speaking of creepy Karens, it seems like someone decided to jam out to the Hokey Pokey on her record player. At least the haunted doll didn't put out Legos.
I'm not afraid of you.
She's definitely not scared, as she proceeds to shake uncontrollably. I think a razor would give a closer shave than a broken record. Alright, everybody relax, it's just Scully taking a bath, nothing to see here. After her relaxing bath and some interesting reading material, affirmations for women who do too much, she notices she received a phone call and a little visit from Jack, who I don't really think she wanted to see. Also, who's this strange guy in Scully's room? Poor Scully gets dragged back to the scene of the crime, but could they not have done this without her? While Scully's looking over the body, she gets another phone call, and who else could it be other than Mulder? Mulder without pants. He called her because he has a theory about what could be happening, and in a strange twist, he actually thinks it's something scientific called dancing sickness and not witchcraft.
Yeah, it hasn't been seen or diagnosed since the Middle Ages.
Oh.
With no help from Mulder, Buddy starts playing the Hokey Pokey for some reason, and I think he just remembered he left the stove on.
You know, Chief Bonjant, Jack. Can I call you Jack?
Well, that's what I've been calling him. This is where Scully basically takes on the Mulder role and tells Jack that they might have to take a different approach to the case. A more paranormal approach, if you will. I guess she's no longer on vacation? Well, that doesn't look fun at all. Does this count as a lunch date? Scully questions Jack about Melissa's dead husband, and apparently he took a grappling hook to the noggin. He also happened to be on the boat owned by the man she met at the grocery store, which seems oddly coincidental.
I want popcorn, Mommy.
Since the ladies decided against going to Buddy's special place by the lake, they figure why not have a nice night together with some popcorn and a little hokey pokey. Buddy comes in with some attitude because Melissa never went to his love shack, and now he starts blaming Melissa for Karen Lady's death. I get it, you're upset that she turned you down, but I don't think that means you can just accuse her of murder. What, because her daughter listens to the same Hokey Pokey song, that means she did it? There's no way two people could have the same record. Anyways, while that fun is going on, Scully speaks to the old fisherman. He tells her a spooky ghost story about how Melissa's husband may have died. I mean, we can't take what he says 100%, can we? He could just be covering his tracks. Okay, so we're dealing with the fisherman from I Know What You Did Last Summer. Nah, it's actually just a haunted doll.
What types of objects?
Like a doll, for instance.
You mean like Chucky?
I wouldn't consider Chucky to be a haunted doll. Charles Lee Ray just body swapped into the good guy doll so he could evade police until he found a new body. No, I'd say this is more of the talky Tina variety. I like how Mulder sort of mocks Scully for suggesting a haunted doll, but I guarantee that if he was there, he'd be coming to the exact same conclusion.
Where's my popcorn?
It's coming, Polly.
You're still making the popcorn? Your daughter asked for it hours ago. No wonder she's using a haunted doll to murder people. While Polly sleeps off her food coma, her mother goes around the house nailing all the windows and doors shut for some reason. I don't think your daughter is really gonna go anywhere, and I highly doubt anyone is looking to break into the haunted house.
I can't sleep.
Well, no shit you can't sleep. Your mom is going around nailing the whole damn house down. After she sees a vision of her own death, Melissa figures maybe right now isn't the best time to be nailing everything down. Nah, instead let's pour gasoline everywhere and blow the whole damn house up. Scully and Jack arrive, and thankfully Melissa bought those dollar store matches that won't light for shit.
Don't play with matches.
That's right, as Smokey the Bear always said, only haunted dolls can prevent forest fires. Scully takes a gander inside and notices that Melissa is about to make everything go kablamo. Geez, these two are taking their sweet time to get inside. Scully finds Melissa upstairs, and the spooky doll forces her to smash herself in the face with a hammer, which has to suck. Scully grabs the doll from Polly and throws it into the microwave, which as we all know is the only weakness of a haunted doll. That Monday, Mulder is hard at work. I don't think this man knows how to function anymore when Scully isn't around. Oh, and we can't ignore the sequel bait, can we? For an episode that never actually happens. I like Chinga quite a bit, not because it's anything amazing, but it's just silly and a little spooky. I'm actually surprised to see so much dislike for this episode. It doesn't reinvent the wheel or show any character growth, though I do think it shows that Scully isn't as skeptical as she was in the first 3 seasons. Some of my favorite moments are when Mulder calls her just to see how her case is going, even though she's not really supposed to be on a case and should be relaxing. He's like a little lost puppy when she isn't around, and it makes me wonder what he did before she came on the scene. Jillian does a good job on her own. She's got some fun moments, and I don't think people give her enough credit when it comes to her comedic timing. A lot of the time, it's just the facial expressions she gives that end up making me laugh the most. The story is pretty cliche haunted doll stuff, but it works for what it is. Now, I'm gonna let you in on some info that I don't think anyone has ever heard before. But did you know that this episode was written by author Stephen King? Yes, the Stephen King wrote an episode of The X-Files. Well, kinda. You see, King was a longtime fan of the series, and after he crushed David on Celebrity Jeopardy, something Chris Carter never let him live down, by the way.
Steven, what are frogs? Right. What are frogs?
He told David that he would love to write an episode of The X-Files. And then one day, according to Chris Carter, King called him out of the blue and said, "I demand to write an episode of Millennium." Chris thought it was a tad strange that Stephen King told David that he wanted to write an X-Files episode only to change it to Millennium. But either way, Chris thought it was a great idea. After the two got off the phone, Stephen King called Chris Carter back and told him that he'd rather write an episode of The X-Files. Maybe Stephen King was coming down from a cocaine high? I don't know. But Chris said that's great, and King began to pitch his idea. Over several months, Stephen King would mail over his drafts of the script, while Carter would mail them back with notes. Issues began to arise when it became fairly obvious that Stephen King didn't really know how to write Mulder and Scully, or at least Mulder and Scully together. A change was made to have Mulder and Scully separated, with the main focus being placed on Scully. This one change seemed to work. However, after the extensive changes, the script felt less like a Stephen King story and more like a typical Chris Carter story. The episode's director, Kim Manners, said, "I was very excited to be able to direct a Stephen King piece, and when it was all said and done, there was very little Stephen King left in it. The nuts and bolts were his, but that was really one of Chris's scripts." This wasn't supposed to be the only Stephen King written episode for the show either. There was a pitch made from both Stephen King and Night of the Living Dead director George A. Romero to do a remake of Night of the Living Dead set in the X-Files. However, things fell through and the episode would turn into the season 7 episode Millennium. But just imagine what we could have had. Like is the case with many X-Files episodes, censors found something in Chinga to be upset over. You'd think that it might be some of the violence, but nope, it was the name of the episode itself. Apparently, Chinga is a slang term in Mexico that means fuck. Like I'm gonna fuck you up? Fuck you? There's a lot more nuance and history to it than that, and it can apparently mean a lot of different things depending where you're from. But when Fox heard what it meant, they told Chris Carter to change it. For US and Canadian releases, it was too late to change and they had to keep it as Chinga. However, for overseas releases, the title was changed to Bung Honey. I don't think Bung Honey actually means anything, but was a name that was chosen just because it sounds kind of vulgar, I guess. Apparently the reason why the episode was named Chinga to begin with was because that was the name of the doll in one of King's earlier drafts, though I can't find anything to back this claim up, so take it with a grain of salt. Another issue they came into was how to make a creepy doll that doesn't immediately make you think of creepy dolls from other media. What they did was take different pieces of random dolls and they sort of constructed a Franken doll, though it still reminds me of Talkie Tina from the Twilight Zone.
My name is Talkie Tina, and you'd better be nice to me.
They also had a stunt woman in an oversized doll costume play the role of the haunted doll seen throughout the episode. They also ran into an issue when it came to Scully closing the door with her foot while in the bath. The issue is the camera would pick up the teeny tiny little tattoo on her ankle, which Scully isn't supposed to have. As we all know, she only has one on her lower back, because Scully is a classy lady. To correct this issue, they went frame by frame and painted over the tattoo digitally. And don't worry, I went frame by frame as well to make sure they did it properly, because that's the kind of sacrifice I'm willing to make for you ladies and gents. Jillian also apparently read her performance in the script as a little more tongue-in-cheek. However, she got a call from Chris Carter who started ranting that she's playing it incorrectly and they had to edit a lot of stuff out. But isn't the director's job to make sure she's giving the correct performance, or am I missing something here? Chinga currently sits at 7.5 on IMDb, and while it's not the best episode, I still find it enjoyable and would probably give it 7 haunted dolls out of 10. Up next, we have an interesting episode that may have aged a little better than some, as Mulder and Scully investigate a rogue AI program that may be evolving. In the episode, Kill Switch. So what do you think of Chinga? Let me know down in the comments. Anyways, that's all for today. I hope you're having a great week and stay spooky!
What would happen if Stephen King joined the X-Files? The terror is out there when Fox presents a television event, an episode of The X-Files written by Stephen King.
Get away from me! It sounds to me like witchcraft.
The X-Files, an all-new episode Sunday at 9, 8 Central on Fox.